Welcome back. You're still watching Citizen Extra, the Monday edition with me, Freddy Ndimuli. I'm in studio with Johnson Kivaka, Michael Agwanda, and Vincent Kimosop. Those are my analysts for this hour. In the last hour, of course, we were discussing about general political talk. Is it just pure rhetoric, or is it going anywhere? Is it heading anywhere? Are we discussing real issues? Are we even striking the chord in as far as the electorate is concerned? Now we want to take that conversation forward and now discuss about the party manifestos that these two major political formations are saying they're about to launch. Remember, today is only 49 days to the elections. Is this a time to launch a party manifesto? Do we still have time to scrutinize what these people do have? Will the manifesto actually strike a chord, as it were? Is it something that is able to get people to react to their emotions? Because we are saying that probably that is the only way you can get to the Kenyan voter. Bwana Kimosop, what exactly is a manifesto? Probably, let me not start with you now. Let me start with Bwana Gitaka, because he was just about to give an answer in the last hour, and I'm sure he still has something to comment about what happened last hour. What exactly is a manifesto? Friend, what should we expect this week?
Fred, thank you. A manifesto, friend, is essentially a summary of the ideology, and ideology we are talking about systematic ideas that inform the actions of any political formation. And it's an important thing for us to understand that, because we should be able to ask ourselves, so are the utterances and the activities and the policies that are being proposed a reflection of the ideology? Right? So first of all, I think that is the basic thing. What we normally have, and I think we've seen them in the United States, the issue of manifestos were contested, for instance, extensively, for instance, in the Democratic Party, where Bernie Sanders wanted certain aspects of what he thought are fundamental issues in the Democratic ideology to be included. And remember, there was a lot of caucusing, there was a lot of discussion, and at the end of the day, he said, now that I'm satisfied that my views have been captured in the manifesto, then I'm okay, I can lose Hillary Clinton. In this country, friend, you ask yourself, what is the political ideology? And I think, simply put, political ideology is just your outlook, right, in respect to certain what you call governing issues. There are about four. You'll be talking about governance, right, issues of governance, and you can actually say inclusiveness, inclusivity, social equity, those kind of issues, right? There is the size of government. What is the role of government in people's life? There are people who talk about wanting the government to meddle in everything, and you can actually see that kind of discussion between NASA and Jubilee. Jubilee feels that the government should basically concentrate on what you call building an infrastructure where individuals can thrive. But NASA feels the government should basically be all over, giving you food, sorting out your rent, those kind of issues. Now, those are very fundamental issues, and I think we need to talk about.
Are those the things that we expect to be contained in these manifestos for either party, that yes, Jubilee will probably focus more on the infrastructure?
No, friend, they're not there. They're not find there. What you have a statement of intent, right? Like a shopping list, that you basically go with it in the supermarket. That is what you expect to get from the two political formations. You'll be able to see what you call the main standpoints, from infrastructure, from education, to health, to agriculture. Those do not in any way make up a party's manifesto. Yes. Those are what you may call statements of intent. So, for instance, in education, assuming, for instance, everybody is saying that they want to make that secondary education free. All right, that's a very good thing, but that's an intent. Yes. What is the fundamental philosophy and ideology and viewpoint that inform that statement? So these are issues, and I think we can help our politicians, and I hope that since some of them are postponing the launches, they can actually take time to critique those documents, because we need freshness. We need to hear something that we've not heard over the last so many years, so that basically that can excite us, right? The issue of employment, friend, and I think it's important for us to talk about this. There's no government that can supply jobs to you and me. None. Even the jobs that Donald Trump is creating in America, it's not the government which is providing those jobs. The government creates opportunities for you to be able to basically sustain your livelihood, either through private business or through farming. That's how jobs are created. But you know what? When you come and tell us that within 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years, we'll be able to deliver 1 million jobs, it's like, hang on.
Yes, those are the things that we expect in these manifestos that we are waiting this week and early next week.
Yeah, we need to critique those. That's what I'm saying, friend. These are statements of intent. They are not informed by any fundamental ideology.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, that's why they are not sustainable.
But surely, don't we therefore run the risk of having something that's been copy-pasted from previous documents? And this is across the political divide. That and I had this running joke that all the manifestos that have been launched since 2002 are simply been copy-pasted from one that Kanu launched quite some years back, that every time you have an election they copy-paste and then they just rewrite, re-edit a few wordings here and there. When also, do we really get to understand what a manifesto is?
Fred, on a day-to-day basis, this is my area of consulting at Sovereign Insight, and I have done some manifestos for some leaders, and I have seen the impact of a clearly well thought out manifesto. When it's executed, it makes a difference. Just fast forward, in 2002, when Mwai Kibaki was the NAC presidential candidate, he had a 5-point clear agenda. I still remember because I was highly involved as a young person who is excited about democracy and change. And I can tell you one of the things that he said was free primary school education. The number 2 was good governance, strengthening our institutions of governance. Number 3 was improving foreign relations. And then national unity. And then finally, the whole issue about how do we ensure that we have a government that runs effectively. And you could see from those manifestos, the programs that came included, for example, the GJ Laws program that reformed our security apparatus. You remember the Moody Hoppers and all that. So when you have a well clearly thought out manifesto that is implemented to the letter, it makes a difference. And that's why I would be of a small divergent position with my colleague on the issue of government, for example, yes, does not create jobs, but government, when they put in the right frameworks, and the opportunities can be created. And compare presidents of George Bush and President Obama. They were all governments, but because of the difference in programs, for example, the taxation policies of the Republican Party is actually that brought us to where the meltdown in 2008. And the intervention by the democratic government in massive government spending is actually what reversed the same. So I think to summarize this, and I would want to request Fred, if this is a proposal you would take, particularly avoid, when we are discussing the manifestos of the parties, if you can avoid the time when the parties come to praise the manifestos, and just call an opportunity to challenge now, use what our colleague has pointed out, questioning what is the underlying philosophy that informs, for example, the approach of NASA, the approach of Third Way, the approach of Jubilee into, for example, the issue of education. You look, they are talking so much about we will do this, we will do this. But the question we also need to ask is, where will they get the resources to be able to implement some of those things? What is the approach on business, on growing the tax base? So I think, in my view, manifestos make a difference, particularly if you have well thought out manifestos that actually ensures that it addresses the issue. And I agree with what my colleague has said. Addressing unemployment must be addressed. The whole issue about infrastructure, the whole issue about inclusivity, national unity. So if we question both the intent and the how, then we are able to answer the questions. Are they implementable? Are they pragmatic? And are they realistic?
Then therefore we are then presented with a new challenge, that some of these issues that need to be addressed, I think even across the political divide, they seem to be in agreement that yes, unemployment needs to be addressed, the high cost of living needs to be addressed, and all these other things. But where therefore do they get the point of divergence? And probably that's where the joke is coming in, that probably they're postponing. Each party does not want to launch its manifesto before the other, because you want to see what the others have done, so that you can at least try and draft yours a bit differently, because the problems are the same. What is the difference in ideology here, Agwanda?
You know, you widely put it this way: what is the divergence in their, proposals for the manifestos? I can tell you the divergence is here. One is an incumbent government, and the other one is an opposition that wants to take the very place that the government of the day is holding. And therefore, when you look at these two manifestos, there will be serious questions. There are some manifestos that perhaps are in the government manifestos that have not been implemented. For example, when you have the laptop for class 1 kids, when you bring the laptop again and say we want to distribute laptop, remember this was, I think, about 100 days, and then it continued, and up to today we still don't have all the schools with laptops. That will be questionable to bring that issue back again, because people will ask you, well, why wasn't it ever implemented? I had the privilege of accessing some of the manifestos for NASA, and they're talking about creating jobs, lowering the cost of living, free secondary education. They're talking about lowering universities' fees and increasing help allocation. All those things are really, really good. But I think, from my perspective, and as a professional, I'm perhaps looking at, you want to do this, give us a time frame. And if you give us a time frame, can you also give us the implementation strategy? Because some of those things that have been promised and given time frame, and then it elapses into the other, government, is where we have the problem, where projects are started, even in the county government, and it goes beyond their current current 5 years or service of time, and then it just remains there. We've had issues in CDF where buildings that perhaps were started by a certain MP, when he left the office, they were never completed with this other MP. So I think it will be key for this manifestos to be there. But I will also want to see a situation basically where they are like Kibaki, where you have 5 core manifestos, and people look at them, because some of those things, if there are 20 manifestos, let me tell you, an ordinary Mwananchi is not going to say, I'll be able to remember the 20 that he said. Perhaps we will remember because we have an interest, we are inciting the public, and we are advising the public, but many people will not be able to remember all these manifestos. So how about if it's narrowed down to proper governance and ensuring that people are empowered to have a free atmosphere to do business without so many taxes that are hurting this country. And I will say this as I conclude on this matter. When we talk about issues of agriculture and lack of food in our society, the question is, what are they having as a strategy to bring back our food to where it was before? Remember, those guys that we were calling agricultural extension officer who were serving us during Moi's time. We never had issues with food. I think it was once. But now, what is the government, and from the both divides of the political strength, what are they doing specifically to tell us that this is what we'll do to enable us be food responsible?
Now, one of the things that may feature in those separate manifestos is free secondary education, which both Jubilee and NASA have said they will work on. But the point of departure appears just to be months apart. Yes, one says January, the other says we'll start it as soon as September. Surely, is that something that you can say that is a marked difference in the manifestos, that free secondary education, which will feature in both then September and January?
Fred, I think the timing is neither here nor there. I think the big question is that where is the government going to get the resources to subsidize that? You see, it's very important to appreciate that whatever money the government is spending is coming from you and me. The government does not have a farm where they basically harvest money. The money will come from you and me. And this is my grip with the formation. Nobody is talking about generating resources. Everybody is talking about spending resources. Where are we going to get this money? Friend, I want to remind you that a country called Greece 2 years ago went bankrupt. It was the most generous country in Europe in terms of social welfare, pension. Everything was underwritten by the government. They went bust. If you look at the size of today's Kenyan government, what we are spending to basically just, current expenditure, paying salaries, making sure the governors and their wives have got bodyguards, making sure that everybody who has ever been to politics has a bodyguard who is paid by you and me. it tells you those are red lights. If we are not careful, in the fullness of time, and I hope I'm wrong, we will not be able even to pay the civil servants who are actually on the payroll. Because nobody is talking about production. And
about spending.
Yeah, we just talked about spending. I would like to see basically the narrative in terms of how they're going to finance this. Because you see, at the end of the day, the government has no business. It is not a productive. They spend what is there. So whether or not secondary school will be free in January or October is neither here nor there.
Yes.
It's actually where are we going to get that money from? Secondly, friend, and I think we must be able to localize a lot of issues. Sometimes we tend to talk about mega issues, infrastructure, health, so and so forth. The fact that we have got what you call county government is a recognition of the fact that we have issues that are local in nature, that you cannot just come and tell us about a manifesto that finds no traction with the issues that I define as important in my own local locality. And I saw something very, which and I hope NASA will be able to basically progress this. They have what you call regional-based mini manifestos. Now, how that is meshed into the big manifesto is something that we have to, and I hope that they are basically, postponing so that they are able to fine-tune this. We want to actually see specific local issues being addressed. For instance, if you look at Laikipia, where the folks are raiding people's farms, if you tell them that you're going to build a road in that area, of what use is that road to a farmer who is dying, whose livestock is dying as a result of lack of pasture? So we need to look at issues from a local perspective. And gladly we have the infrastructure, we have the architecture of the county governments, whereby county governments should be able to define what is it that basically concerns their people, and they should find expression in the political manifestos of the people who are seeking our leadership.
Bwana Kimosop, most of our politicians coming either from Jubilee or NASA are made from the same cloth. They work together, they've grown up together, they've gone probably to the same schools, their understanding of politics or even governance is the same. There's really no clear departure between the leadership in Jubilee or the one in NASA in terms of how to run a country, because all of them have been in the same government at one point or the other. So when they talk about free secondary education, their understanding is probably the same. So the only departure is about 2-3 months, September and January. Surely, do we expect any different manifesto between Jubilee and NASA?
Yes, I think there will be some difference, Fred, and you can already see that even on the same issue, the timing is different. September and in January.
But it makes not much of a difference.
Since you've invited us to the place of analysis, we have the responsibility of now questioning the viability and the practicality of this idea. For example, by looking at the number of secondary schools that we have, together with the number of primary schools, the number of teachers, and then the resources that will be required vis-a-vis what we are spending now. Then the question is that, is it viable or not? I think in my view, what I see is that the free secondary school education will not be realized at one go. It has to be staggered. For example, maybe some money towards expanding the infrastructure in secondary school. Then in the next phase, you have more money maybe to hire more teachers, because already even the existing teachers do not meet the ratio. Then it has to be a phased approach. So in the place of, when I now read the manifesto of Jubilee or NASA, I have to look at how they are implementing. Since in principle they've said they will do it, then now the question I will ask is the implementation framework and the outline viable and possible? Because in view of resources, the teachers, and as I pointed out, the other thing I wanted to point out, Fred, is that why there will be a difference. I remember there are people who had written off the former president Mwai Kibaki when he did well as a minister of finance in his time. But of course, when he changed to other ministries, they were, oh, he's a fence-sitter, he does not take stand. But come on, when he became president, and he had a very clear plan. Do you know what happened? We saw his track record that we are speaking about until now. So I think it is we should not dismiss, for example, the DDAs, the OCOT, even NASA. I think let everybody be given a chance. And I think if we have great ideas from any of the divide, improved as a result of scrutiny, accountability, and challenge, the beauty of it is that Kenya wins, because you have the IEBC that has cleared 8 candidates, meaning that any of the 8 could easily become. Even the president has said that if he loses the election, what he's going to, he will concede and challenge the person who will win to love this country and to take this country forward. So I think we need to give space to the ideas and their philosophies and challenge them. If they are not practical, ask them, return to sender. Even people repeat classroom by going back to, so that they can perform better.
Okay. Of course, even as we continue this discussion about the campaign agenda, we're still following up on the NASA strike, and we do understand we're going to be getting an update from Eldoret as well as Mombasa in a short while. For now, I need to thank my analysts for the past hour, so Johnson Githaka, Michael Agwanda, and Vincent Kimosop, for helping us understand some of the nitty-gritties of the discussions we've just had. Of course, some of them will be retaining some of these analysts for the next hour. But for now, let's head out. Gentlemen, thank you so much for the analysis. If we get to continue within the next hour, I think it will even be better. My director informs me that we do have Mombasa. We'll be speaking to the secretary of the Nurses Union Mombasa branch, Bwana Peter Maroko. Do we have him? Yes, Bwana Maroko, good morning. Bwana Maroko, if you can hear me, good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra right here on Citizen TV. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Kindly update us on what is going on in Mombasa and as far as the NASA strike is concerned. We do apologize for that lack of communication there with Bwana Maroko. We'll be linking up with him to give us an update, although we do understand that quite a number of nurses have traveled to Nairobi to take part in the 5,000 march here in Nairobi that kicks off from the Uhuru Park. We'll be catching up with Wilkista Nyabwa, who's following up with the happenings there as well, because we do understand they'll be marching from the Uhuru Park all the way to Westlands Delta House, where the Council of Governors is housed. Then they'll go to where the Salaries and Remunerations Commission is as well. Do we have Bwana Maroko yet? Yes, Bwana Peter Maroko, all the way from Mombasa, Nurses Union Secretary General, Mombasa branch. Good morning. We do understand quite a number of nurses have come to take part in the protest march in Nairobi. What is happening in Mombasa?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Bwana Maroko. We still are experiencing some communication challenges there with Bwana Maroko. We'll also be linking up with our reporter from Eldoret, John Wanyama, who can give us an update as well. But now let's take a break. Citizen Extra continues.